Matthew 7.
You
Starting in
7.
7. Thank you.
Keep asking, seeking, and knocking. That's the title.
Knock, knock.
And if I may add to that, relentlessly, never stop. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds. And to him who knocks it will be opened. And that doesn't necessarily mean when you knock. So please don't be impatient.
And it may even look like a little different when you open it.
Right. You might knock on the front door and they might be opening an attic door that you don't even know exists.
But it could be good.
So,
Could
right.
be exciting.
You'll get there eventually. Or what man is there among you who is the son who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? I don't think I would do that.
If
That would
your
be,
son asks you for bread, you'll give him a stone, right?
yeah,
Because
that's
you're
like,
right. Because
seems
and
like a
I think
pretty,
that's the point. He's saying as humans, if someone asks you for bread, you usually would give them a bread or something that you could find that they need to eat, as opposed to a stone, which would be obviously no help. Unless it was
well,
a hot
there's a hot stone, maybe a
that they
hot stone.
could roast a fire and then they could
That's a very positive way to look at it, Mother. Wow. Well, I guess you find a fire, you get a stone, and yeah, it'll work out. We'll be all right. We'll be
they still need you,
even
you'd
if
have
you give us a stone, we'll be fine. For
but I think
every
I want to say something else and I cut you off. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, you're good.
Okay.
Me, you're good.
Verse. And then 10, here's another analogy.
Or if he asks for a fish, will he give him a serpent? Surely not. If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Is that like gift giving is a very interesting thing. I feel like it's a
It
talent.
is. I know.
Because
I
like
feel like I struggle with that.
for me, gift giving is like you have to like learn about the person and
Yeah.
interact with them. Because it's not only the gift. Because a lot of people just see a thing and they're like, wow, that's cool. That other person would like it. But then sometimes there's no like thought of the afterwards, which is like, yeah, you got them a cool gift, but what are they going to do with it?
Mm.
What would you do with it?
Right. Is it going to sit on a shelf or which could be, or is it going to be productive? Is that what you mean? Kind of.
Right.
Will it enhance?
Hoping. You can't get it right every time, but you can do your best.
I know. It
And
could be something.
candles are acceptable gifts. There's a role for people, there's also a role for gifts. Don't stop giving candles a gift.
Okay.
Nobody wants them, but everybody needs them.
And hats.
And hats and socks and everything.
Yes, because we need them.
Because those are more thoughtful than some of the other like nice gifts that people give.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Well,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you to everyone that's given me a gift.
true.
Thank you, John. And thank you, Lord, for the
But
ultimate
if you give a gift in good conscience, you're good.
out of
Doesn't
kindness.
matter what you get, right?
Yeah.
This is a more literal term. I think he's
Right. Because you make the person smile. Exactly. But he's talking about good gifts as in
yeah.
the
No,
food and the fish, bread and fish.
yes, I've gone a little too materialistic.
It's okay. It's
We've
okay.
strayed off the path, Mother. Please lead us back.
Back to verse 11. If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him. So we're still in that where we asking God for something. He knows, that he'll what we need too. So he will give us what we need. As long as it's not, something bad we're asking for, that's gonna hurt us. Because, we do that
Well,
too.
at the end of the day, I mean, maybe you wouldn't know. I would know. But yeah, you're
But
right.
then it wouldn't be a good gift, would it? But God knows a good gift. Thank you.
Mm. If you then, is this, yeah. Oh no, you just read that. Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. This is
Or
like
that's the golden rule, as they call it, right?
the golden rule. This entire book could have just been that one word or that one sentence.
Whatever you
If you
want
had to sum the entire Bible up just to one person on the
into,
street, if somebody were to be like, explain to me God, and I'd be like, good sir, I will not waste your time, but do unto others as you would do to them, or you would want to have done to you. That's the only thing. If you can get that message across to somebody, they can do that, and they can do that, honestly do that. They don't need anything else
right. Well, right. We need God's help in doing it, right? Don't we? In
sometimes.
in the thing, but I know what you're saying. That's a really good um wisdom to live by, right?
Well, there's that. I
And
mean,
if you
so,
really, really think about if you wanted to do it onto you, then
right,
but sometimes although we could be selfish to ourselves too,
right.
whatever
Well,
you want men to do to you, yes, how you'd want to treat it, everything,
you can. So if you are the type of person to make allowances for yourself,
then you can give grace to others, allowances, right?
you have to give allowances to other people when they ask for them. Otherwise, you're sinning. Maybe not literally in that, but like,
When you say allowances, you're giving yourself a break, like
right. If you're going to expect
grace,
yourself to get a break, anything other than fully accepting that from somebody else, like, that's corruption.
right?
That's unfair. You're living like a lie. I know those are like harsh ways to explain it, but like that's that's my view on the reality of it.
Like an example, like if you needed a break, but then you wouldn't give a break to someone else, right?
Well, it's like
And not
the way I view it is
like a rest.
at work, I expect a vacation.
Yes.
Me as a boss, if I have an employee come up to me and be like, I want a vacation these days, who am I to say no?
Because you wanted to, right? Because you
Ever.
right,
Like, are there certain days because of retail that they tell you you can't? Like, yeah, but like, who am I as a person to tell somebody else that they can't take a break if I'm also expecting a break at some point?
right.
It's, I feel like that's just a moral.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was kind of thinking of it in that terms. Yes.
And there are more relevant circumstances that you could definitely be under, but I think to look at it on the surface level,
I
it's
know.
pretty good start.
Wow.
Yeah. The narrow way. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who goes in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. The path, was it the path that's least walked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it's
Why?
true.
And it's broad. I mean, right. It's easy to go to destruction or the wrong way, right? That's easy. It's harder to keep on the path
Right.
and hold yourself accountable, etc.
Well, this is the way that I view it, is that like taking the path that isn't like shown out for you already and like you're taking the beaten path, it's frustrating at some points if you're not like if you don't have the faith because you have to like keep creating the path and the way forward because it's
Laying the
not
stuff.
right. You're laying the stone, you're clearing the path, and there's creation that is a part of that. And creation can also be destruction because that's the other part of it. So like you have to destroy the existent, like what's in the way of the path to make way for the path.
Like the weed in a physical, you're clearing the weed,
Yeah,
the branches of the trees.
in a physical, and then
In
conceptually, it's more of like the duality of the situation where like in order to create, at least in the world that we live in, you have to destroy its form.
I mean, you might have to give up something to to do the right thing. Like you might have to even friends that are leading you the wrong way, so that you because they're not a good influence, or
Yeah.
a situation
It's
that's a distraction, even
yeah.
not getting enough rest. I mean, it could be even a good thing, but you have to balance, right?
Those are things you have to watch out for to make sure that you are staying on the right path because those are the things that we fall into and it's probably the norm.
The busyness
Because
too.
it's a taboo to hold yourself to a standard that is above anybody else's.
Yeah.
At least I would think, which is why I said it. So at least when you start explaining this to people,
I mean, it helps to say
which
things out loud because then
maybe I do think to do. I'll have to
yeah,
think about
mull it in our heads and mull it around or ponder it around, right?
it. Right.
Yes. Super duper. Wow.
All right. Um,
15?
Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. So, like people's works, don't listen to their words. Look at what they're doing.
You could listen and look at what they're doing, yeah. I mean, and we are supposed to be watching out, like beware.
Well, in 16, you will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Which I'm pretty sure is like him relating that to deception.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because figs doesn't come from thistles, obviously.
What you doing
So
here, dude? Did you
yeah.
pick that fresh thing of grapes from that thorn bush? My goodness, they must be
Mm,
tasty.
yeah.
But no, we know that grapes don't grow there.
Yeah. So the information you're giving me
They don't
is
add
all
up.
right, right. And we need to. We all have to be aware, and maybe even sometimes we have to be aware of our own thoughts because we could lead.
Right. And you
So
I think the important part is like you can't talk to God 100% of the time. He's not going to be there all the time. At some point, you're going to have to know. I mean, yeah, he's going to be within you, but understand that you can't have 100% guidance all the time. That's not the reality of our situation.
because we'd be in heaven. But well, we can.
Exactly.
I mean, we'd be perfection. Like,
If we had an ideal situation, which would be a constant communication with God, we wouldn't want to leave Earth, would we? There wouldn't
no.
be a need for death.
And part of it is probably our own, distractions and stuff that gets in the way too.
Well,
Sleep
yeah, absolutely.
needs. I mean,
Well, there needs to.
yeah. Hmm. It's interesting. But yeah, so we have to,
You'll know the hucksters.
the scoffers or the
Yeah,
deceivers, right?
don't say anything to the scoffers either, dude. It's not worth it.
Mm,
It's not worth it.
yeah.
Nothing that you have to say in response to them is worth it. Even if it's good.
They're not willing to hear it, right? Is that what you mean?
Right. If it's good in reality, it's good. But if it's just good in your head, then
Oh.
maybe just don't say it.
Lord, help us, right? Oh, and then I mean, the next part is interesting too. Well, it's all so interesting. There's so much in this, isn't there?
There is.
Lord, thank you.
Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father is in heaven.
Heaven.
It's also like, that's, is that him saying, like, even if you ask, it doesn't mean you're going to get in? Because I think there's maybe some of that too.
Well, I think it's like people that say they know God and they're saying Lord, Lord, because there's
Well, not to put this in like humanly terms, but if I'm understanding this correctly, if I'm saying Lord, Lord, that is me asking. And I'm like, can I get in? And he's like, well, you can, but you got to work for my dad while you're there. And I'm not, this is just the story
in
that
your
I'm
head.
starting to build. But like, not to say, but that's like you asking your dad, right?
Right,
Or
you're
something.
asking your dad, but maybe they don't know your dad, right? Maybe they
No,
don't.
no, no, no. These in this circumstance, in what Jesus is talking about, he's saying, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does my will of my Father in heaven.
Now, I wonder if we should read the next verse because it might make more sense. Would it?
Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Which I think further helps at least the point in my head,
Okay. Okay.
which is like, you have to work for my dad to get into heaven.
Right. Jesus is saying,
There's
oh,
no other way. I told you the first time. And this is like, he's not going to say it to you like this. This is me saying it to you as it was told to me.
oh, this is Jesus.
I told you the first time, do the works of God, stop worrying about yourself. You're not going to get into heaven. Because you asking me is just because you're worried about dying. So it's like, stop talking to me. You need to go do the works for my Father,
Be
because
obedient.
that's what I told you to do. And it's like at some point, love is being able to tell somebody that. That's an ultimate love, is because you're telling them something that they need to do, but they cannot see that. Then
Yeah.
whatever they're going through, they just can't see it. I don't know. That's mostly what causes arguments a lot of the time, because then you have conflicting visions and whatnot. But
Mm.
like, So most of the time, only one person is right, and anything else is usually deception. Like if you have two open and honest people having a conversation, there are no misunderstandings and are no arguments. Because the arguments and the misunderstandings are only coming because like there's feelings and emotions involved and like people are getting offended and hurt and like they're trying to defend themselves. Like, no, you're using words and like this platform is like a battlefield. It's not to have a conversation. Like there shouldn't be any need to worry about your survival. And you see it pop up in so many small ways. Like the need for people to defend themselves in conversation is an overarching theme for you just being self-conscious because you're worried about yourself. Like you have no need to defend yourself for anything as long as you're doing good works and you're honest. Like if you're doing good things, you shouldn't need to lie about anything or you shouldn't feel bad about anything that you say. So
Right.
it's a balance of like, yeah, you can worry about what other people's worries are and what they worry about, but sometimes like by you worrying about that and then you trying to enter into a dialogue with somebody, like you're distorting reality because you're then working on like false premises. So maybe I'm realizing that what I've been partially doing has been false and that I need to self-correct on that aspect. So,
Mm.
fruitful things
Fruitful things to ponder for sure, right?
definitely could be. But build on the rock. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descends, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will
Mm.
be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell. And great was its fall. And so it was when Jesus had ended these sayings that the people were astonished at his teachings, and for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. So like that, I think even further
About the doing,
solidifies the further point or the previous point of like it's the people that don't do the work. That those are the people that you're talking about. And I've read it in the Bible before and I know God talks about it, but like
like that.
God will test your foundation.
Mm.
Say you're a follower of Jesus. Say it to anybody. Guarantee you're not going to get a test. Let's see how strong that faith is. If you
Oh.
have the conviction to say that to another person, you better be real sure. And that's the severity that should be brought into it because
Mm.
that's the effect of our words and our interactions with each other. If you're trying to like do stuff.
Mm. And then I know, like verse 26, right? But everyone who hears these saying of mine and does not do will be like a foolish man who builds his hand on the sand, right? You have to do,
Right,
isn't
that's the person that says, "Yeah, I love God, I
yeah,
love Jesus," and then they don't do anything.
right, right.
They didn't even go find the rock that they were given.
To build on it.
Right, because if you, at least if you had found the rock, you'd have the rock to sit on, but you don't. You're still lost in the desert, like the fucking Egyptian or like the people in that came out of Egypt. And that
Um,
might be a reference to that as well.
right. Mm.
Because like those two things could be correlated, but why else would there be sand? They're still lost like the people in the desert, the people of
Okay.
Israel. I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm sorry for
Oh,
swearing, but it's late enough in the video, so
I understand.
it's just to get the point across.
I understand. No, I understand. Yes. Thank you, Lord.
Uh,
When
it's,
Jesus, Lord bless you. Oh,
hopefully I can find a little more peace within myself.
yes. Yes.